Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels. My guests tonight are Taki Soma and Mark Schey, whose upcoming book, Parapsychologist, is funny and poignant and just wonderful. Just wonderful. And if Dr. Ramos has anything else to say, then we're gonna beat him over the head. But I don't think he will because
I would never
he's
be
got that
negative.
smile on his face
How,
that says he enjoyed himself.
how could I be negative about a great book?
That's my point.
That's impossible.
I like this doctor.
Hey,
I guess I didn't I introduced him to Mark. Taki, this is Dr. Edgar Ramos, who heads up a group called Psychocomicology that goes to various cons and talks about using psych or comics in their psychology practice. Talks about the psychology of superheroes. When they want to really fill the room, they'll talk about the psychology of supervillains,
Oh,
um, that sort of thing. And he's also like owns a practice with how many locations? Four
four
or
locations.
five? What?
Four.
Four locations. Dean of a psychology school, hospital privileges, and owns two comic shops just for kicks. I don't know. Actually, I do know when he sleeps. We talked about this recently. He doesn't. Um,
It's like
I,
Unbreakable a little bit here.
I
Just
wish
a
that would
comic
be
shop on
great.
the side.
It's a passion, and it's integrated into my career, so it doesn't go wrong.
so
nice.
so as soon as I saw psychologist, I knew I had to bring the psychologist with me. Um,
Fantastic.
I
Excellent.
bring him with me just because
I,
he likes comics sometimes too.
I would
It's
love to
my
talk to you afterwards,
Yeah, I know.
oh
Like maybe we should just book a session immediately
well,
afterwards.
well,
right?
it's my pleasure to actually get to meet you guys. So to be quite honest, so I'm the one that's awed by you. So
And if you're in the Chicagoland area, we'll set up a signing. I mean,
no,
I know you're not currently, but the next time you are,
Yeah.
I'm a great cook too, so I can definitely make a good homemade. I tend to cook more
he
Mexican
is.
food.
I can attest to this.
You had us at signing. I mean, but the food is
Yeah.
sounds good.
Always a pleasure.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And like his main shop is like it's a good sized one, so like it's not like you're crammed in the corner with a line of people. Like we can put you on a couch and give you a table.
Oh, you're gonna scare them, Ted. You're
Yeah,
gonna
and
put
like a
them on the
psychology
couch.
couch.
You
Like
already,
No,
yeah,
no,
that
no, no,
already.
no, no, no. Like a recliner
You're in
couch, not a.
session.
Yeah, I
you're in
know.
No, no,
Wait,
no.
oh,
There's a
wait,
big
wait, wait,
TV
wait.
in front of the couch.
okay, okay, all
The
right.
regular couch, not a
We just got to
foldable.
be clear which version
No,
of the
it's not
doctor we're
really a
talking about.
regular couch either. It's a big leather sectional with footrests on both sides.
Patient files scattered about.
Look, as long as I'm
No,
not
no,
collecting
those
credit card
stay at the
information,
practice.
yes. Look, there'll be no credit card, no transference of money, so technically we're on safe ground.
Just insurance.
No, just kidding.
Yeah, no, that's
Does
cool.
insurance cover flights to signings? Because like
Like
he
I
does
have to
have a
see.
cabin out at Starved Rock. So I mean, we could put you up somewhere if you can get the insurance company to cover the flight. Then we're set.
Yeah, they have a hard enough time paying for like legitimate treatments.
I like
Wait a
him.
minute, you're saying that signing comic books isn't a legitimate treatment? It doesn't make you feel better?
That, look, I mean, I think that's a battle for you and your fans and your listeners. I'm gonna continue writing and not get distracted by that.
Okay, that's fair. So who wants to pitch the book? Who's got the better front counter pitch? Should we do dueling front counter pitches?
Taki, go for it.
Well, it's all in a
Mark,
title. It's called Parapsychologist. And if you have any questions, I think you should find out what that actually means.
the doctor is.
Well, I think that's
It's
like
just well,
it's
like I
the
said,
easiest pitch.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say just like it's typically it's an elevator pitch, but you say parapsychologist and it instantly fills your head with the promise of the premise and all of that. And that's kind of one of the things that when Takia and I were thinking about like what we're gonna write together, and I, she remembers me like just somehow the words parapsychologist came up, and both of us
Yeah.
just paused and went like, that's an entire the
That's yeah.
story, that's a series of stories right there. So,
Concept
um,
right there, like it's a really solid concept immediately. So we pivoted like immediately. We were talking about working on a very specific project, and we're trying to find an angle on it and like a narrative for it. And it does involve like a psychotherapist and like yeah, and I think we were just kind of talking about things that like subjects that we like, which is all, like paranormal stuff and, all that stuff. And somewhere along the way, yeah, he just blurted out like parapsychologist. And I'm like, well, I think that's the story. I think that's what we need to do. So we decided to work on that instead.
If
yeah,
I
and then
could, if
then I'm sorry, go ahead.
if I could just ask, because that's an interesting word just to blurt out is parapsychologist. So was there like a framing behind that? Like there was already some thoughts of that you guys had beforehand, like, oh, I have a story, but I don't know it wasn't really fleshed out. Was there a thought behind that before it was just
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, okay,
Oh
good.
yeah, definitely. Like I said, we were already talking about therapy sessions and whatever for this completely different story, and then we would kind of like go on tangent about different subjects and around that time I think we were talking about like subjects that we really like. I like talking about ghosts and aliens and all the paranormal stuff. And, we talk about like how I would go like looking for Bigfoot and and somewhere along the way, I think, Mark had this like idea of like combining the, two subjects together, and it just clicked like immediately.
I feel like we both had the book instantly in our own head, and half of it was us combining both of the books that we created in that instant. Because you hear the
Hmm.
title of Parapsychologist, and probably just like you guys, right? You're thinking like, what does that mean before before you crack the book open, and you all have these expectations. And I think Taki and I instantly, wrote our treatment like in that blink of an eye.
Yeah, in that instant, like,
And
yeah.
then it was us like, wait, that was your version, that was my version, and how do we get the two to mesh?
Hmm. Yep, that's pretty much what happened. Yeah, it was like I said, the concept was really easy because the title just said it all.
And to be just for any of the listeners who don't know, so a parapsychologist is a psychologist who, in our case, it's a world where instead of going to a standard psychologist, paranormal creatures go to a therapist. So
Mhm.
it's about the story of this doctor, Dr. Ron Richards, and his family, and he has a practice that's attached to his house, and he has just a variety of um, famous and infamous creatures that come in
Yeah.
for therapy.
Yeah. Werewolves,
Ghosts,
vampires, ghosts, stuff like that.
cryptids, I mean, just
Uh,
nothing was off the table as long as it had some kind of adjacent to the paranormal.
hmm And of course, they're all just metaphors for human, you know, reasons to go see therapists.
So can I ask a couple questions?
Of course,
Of
please.
So let me just first start with one. I have to say thank you, thank you, thank you for writing such a great book that essentially for me, I mean, and I'm going to be biased here, so please, destigmatizes, therapy. So that in of itself is just, powerful. But the storylines, the metaphors and the symbolism, and I don't want to get too nerdy and too doctor's, so I'm just going to kind of talk more as a fanboy here. The symbolic nature of the character development and why they're in therapy just really kind of humanized
Mhm.
like the struggle or the human suffering, humanized it throughout different mediums. I mean, from a werewolf to a ghost, like it just humanized, those struggles. So that was just amazing. Like I just thought it was amazing. But my question is how did you choose the therapist? Who did the therapist represent for either of you or both of you or
Well, I myself and Mark, we've talked about how we've been in and out of, talk therapy all our lives. And we compared notes and we compared, conditions we suffered. And
We're
Like the
great.
scene in
yeah,
Jaws, like I got a scar. I got a scar.
yeah, yeah. Um, and like ended up like we had like a lot of the similar like diagnosis, like agoraphobia, of course depression, panic attacks, and a few other stuff, but but we both have had his like years of therapy that we can just kind of really bring into the story. So that was really helpful.
That's, I mean, thank you for sharing that. It definitely shows that it was a very well thought out and crafted novel, that it wasn't just something that was just kind of like, oh, this is just, fun and, outlandishly put together. You can see the very well crafted work. I mean, just for starters, the symbolic nature of the characters with the ghosts and the werewolves and what they were suffering with. Like, how did you come up with pitching particular disorders? I don't want to spoil it. Pitching particular disorders with a particular, I don't know what to call it, monster creature. Like, how did you match those things up? I thought that was just fascinating, amazing.
It was a
Oh,
tightrope, but Taki, do you want to take it?
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tightrope because you also don't want to become a stereotypical trope of, in another interview I spoke about, you can't, if the vampire is, phobic of garlic, it starts becoming like a joke. So we had to be very careful where we also are delivering what we think the audience wants, right? Because you're expecting like certain things, but you also, you want to humanize them. You also want to, it was important for me, kind of like touching on your original subject and kind of what Taki was going about. When I was in high school, I had a panic attack for the first time. And as a psychologist and anyone who's had a panic attack knows, at the time, okay, so we're all in this boat together.
They
Mhm.
suck, yes,
If you've had a
absolutely.
panic attack, and someone could correct me, but like a massive amount of people who go to the ER for heart attacks
Mhm.
are it's not in it's a substantial number.
Yeah,
Think that they're having a heart attack, but they're actually having a panic attack.
correct.
Yes.
And I thought it was just me. Something was wrong with me at the time. I was
Yeah.
in my teens.
Same.
And I remember just reading a book, and I don't even think it wasn't a psychology book even. It was just like a story, but someone had a panic attack and they described it. And that moment where you don't feel
Oh,
alone
yeah.
was incredibly important to me. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
mirroring, Doctor, what you're saying, where I think that our goal here in picking which monsters and which problems they have mentally and also with their family lives, even if throughout the book. I think it was just important. We keep saying like we want people to be seen.
Hmm.
For me, it's deeply personal because the moment I realized it wasn't just me, and this is a thing that happens to millions of people,
Yeah.
it takes a weight off of you. So we thought, hey, you can do a fun story. You can make people laugh as long as the struggle is not the the punchline of the joke. You can
Right.
kind of have free reign over mental health issues.
Yeah.
And if this is a gateway that allows someone to open this book up and they don't expect that they're going to learn something, but then they see themselves somewhere. I th Even if it helps one person, I think that that's just an incredible opportunity to tell a
Mhm.
story, to make people laugh, to make people possibly even cry, but also to make them feel like, wait, this is me. Maybe look into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Take
Yeah.
away
Just
the stigma.
normalizing like therapy and normalizing that again, like I really think, like Tag, you said you've had panic attacks
Oh
and
yeah.
panic attacks and and I think it's pretty universal. I think most people have had some kind of panic attack.
There are people who've had panic attacks and there are liars.
There you go. Mike just laughed.
Mike, thank you,
I heard a
Mike.
Yeah.
background laughter there.
Yeah. And like and I feel the same about a lot of things that, that we suffer from, but we don't even realize that like a lot of people actually suffer too. And we all feel very isolated in our feelings and our fears and our, conditions, and only to realize like there's a lot of people who suffer from it, and there's things that you we can do about it. That's another like really powerful thing too, like what kind of mirroring like what Mark went through, like when I went to see my first therapist. I was like 16 or something like that, and she gave she gave me uh words to, or like a she named my conditions, and I'm like, oh, this there's a name for this, like there that I have panic attacks and I was agoraphobic, like there's a name for it. And she's like, yeah, that's literally like your classic. Like I have no doubt. And I was like, oh, I just thought I was weak. I just thought I was, like everybody else was feeling the exact same way, but I was just not handling it. But, yeah, she's just like, yeah, there's a name for it, and there's a lot of things you can do about it. It can be medication, it could be like more therapy, it could be, many other, things like change in perspective, whatever. Um, Exercise even, but there are things you can do, not just put a name to whatever you're feeling, but to know that like it's an actual condition, and it's not that uncommon, and it's not that scary, and that feeling was, again, like what Mark was saying, like it was really powerful.
Especially pre-Google, right? Now, Google could be a
Yes.
double-edged sword, especially for
Yeah.
hypochondriacs. But like,
Yes.
but like when it comes to, mental health and you're talking about like panic attacks or anxiety or agoraphobia, like there, unless you got lucky in a library or used microfiche and the Dewey Decimal System, you had to do a lot of work if you weren't
Yes.
seeing a professional. So it
Yes.
wasn't like you can casually say like, I have palpitations and I have, cold sweat, and you can't just like now. And yes, it's dangerous because you can go down this rabbit hole of it always ends up being much worse than it is. But
Yeah.
at least, you know, with restraint, you can actually see that there's other people. You can find support. But I think that that was definitely an impetus for wanting to put a book out there that, because even to this day, like you don't even know what to Google sometimes, right? You can Google
Mhm.
symptoms, and that can lead to the dangerous rabbit
Yeah.
hole.
Uh,
But I think there's a lot of people who will read this book, and I hope will go like, wait a second, maybe I should maybe I should look into this.
Yeah. And there's help.
maybe I'm allowed to. I mean,
Yeah.
that's always the
Well,
thing that like sticks with me when I get to see myself in a piece of fiction is that it's a permission structure. It's a,
Mhm.
oh,
Mhm.
this is not the evil person in the book. This is not the problem in the book. This is the character that we're rooting for, and they go do this. So that must be it's okay.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, Mark hit it on the head earlier with like the I'm not alone.
Mhm.
Um, and also like seeing the different experiences I mean, I've been dealing with mental health issues since I was like first therapist I remember I started seeing when I was 8, but I know that I was taken for various stuff even before then. Um, and yet, like, I mean, you brought up the Google thing, and like, I I actually have a couple of different types of panic attacks. I have the racing heart, feel it, sweaty, blah blah blah, but I
Mhm.
also have like the ice pick to the chest, just but like I didn't figure out until recently that that was a panic attack, and it was because of Google. It was one of those things where it always went away relatively quickly. I know enough about what actual heart issues are supposed to be to know that it wasn't that. It wasn't quite in the right spots, no matter how much it hurt, no matter
right.
how close it was, etc. But I'd never known what it was. I just knew that like anytime it happened, I had to like really stretch and breathe um, but
But
then I
while it's
had one.
happening, your brain is convincing you no, that's the left side of your chest. Like even though it's on the right, your brain is very
Well, for me, it's like dead center. It's like,
yeah.
but
So
yeah,
like
my
it's
brain's
not
starting to
classic,
go,
and
oh, it's the left side. But I'm like, no, 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 because your arms are still working. You're,
yeah, I mean, someone I
Yeah.
care about, I was having problems with anxiety, and I got them a bracelet that on the inside says your anxiety is lying to you,
yeah.
and
Mhm.
that's one of its tricks. That's one of its
Oh
best
yeah.
traits, right? Because it
Oh
convinces
yeah.
you, because you can't logic your way out of it. You while
Um,
it's happening,
I
while you're,
mean,
well, because
don't
it's
tell me
also
what I can logic my way out of.
because
okay,
it's not
Mr.
just in
Locke.
your head or your imagination, but it's actually physically happening to you, right?
Yeah.
Like panic attacks are specifically like your endorphins are endorphins? Is it the
Serotonin, I think, or
uh,
Your fight or flight response is
yeah.
activated.
Yeah.
right, right, and that's an actual like chemical in your brain that's being released, right? So like it's actually really happening to you as well,
Right.
right? And uh, what I came up with is like, well, my brain wants to like whenever I have a panic attack, usually the first thing that comes to mind is like, I'm going to die. So I'm going to look for a reason why I'm going to die. And as soon as I start thinking and going down that rabbit hole, I'm like, oh, this is a panic attack. And just knowing that doesn't necessarily like I'm instantly out of the panic attack because my body is still going through the adrenaline and all that
Hmm.
stuff, right? But the fear is at least calmed down.
Right.
But yeah, your brain is always looking for a reason why your adrenaline is released
Hmm.
for whatever reason, right? So yeah, so most people just go to like crazy places and it's like I'm having a heart attack or whatever, you know. And your brain is an amazing machine. So if you
I don't
will
know if
it to
amazing
like
is the word I would allow you use, but it's definitely a machine.
well, yes, but it's like to a point where it can make your heart race and all that
Hmm.
stuff to
Oh yeah.
say what you're thinking is correct. Yes, go to the emergency, stuff like that.
Oh,
Like
right.
Right.
You still, and that is a nice caveat, right? Like you still trust your body because you, don't just always dismiss it as
Yes.
oh,
Yeah, no, I
accidental.
mean, if you're
I mean, like
falling
listen to
over
the
and can't
actual,
breathe, it might be time to call
right.
911.
Right. There are, like, and not to, and then and now, now we're going to give more people panic attacks, but the fact is like, yeah, you trust your body. But yeah, I mean,
Edgar, our listeners can't see your face or have so you should verbalize some of this
If I
as
could,
yeah,
the
I mean, Edgar,
doctor in the
what are your,
room.
Dr.
if
Edgar?
I could
What,
jump, and you guys are so on point with it. But the easiest way to think about it, I think, for everybody is kind of looking at it as is understanding the word emotions and feelings. And we all misinterpret those two words, or we use them interchangeably, and they're not. They're two completely different things. Emotions are in defined are physiological sensations that you have because of external stimulus. That's an emotion. So it's a physiological response. Your feelings is your interpretation of that response. So you're exactly what you're saying is that your body, fight or flight, your heart's pumping, it's beating really fast, you're starting to sweat, your eyes are bulging, next veins are popping out, and you're going, I'm gonna freaking die, something's dying. Those are your feelings now. Your feelings are trying to tell you what you think your body's doing. That's the dynamic that's occurring is understanding what your emotions, your body is doing, and then your feelings is what your mind is telling you your body's doing. That's all. That's essentially what's occurring, and it's
oh
crazy because you don't know what to do because it's your
yeah.
body does experience it. It is going through those motions, but you don't know what your body's actually really doing.
yeah, I always
You do.
describe it like a heat-seeking missile. So you have these feelings, and then this missile is looking for
Where to put them?
why am I feeling this way? So you
You're
start
trying to
just
get at
going,
it.
you just keep looking through your past. You look through physical symptoms. You try to explain it away, um, and it's particularly difficult, I think, for creatives, because I call it the what ifs, and I know I didn't like coin
Uh-huh.
that phrase, but it's like
I
what
read
if
that
this
somewhere.
happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? And I think that one of the reasons you could be creative is you're able to think, what if this happens? What if this
You're
happens?
really
But
good at what
unfortunately, those
ifs.
same exact creative powers
Uh-huh.
could be reversed right directly on your own
Oh.
mental health.
That's actually a good observation. Yeah.
I mean, the real world version of that for me is um like the world we live in. I get anxious about like, and I have so many people that are like, you just got to take a break from the news. I'm like, no, you don't get it. If I don't know what's going on, my brain does worse.
Yeah. Really though? Really? Like that
Yes, it
recently
does. I
even? Okay.
tried after the election.
Okay.
I tried to check out for a month and
Yeah.
like, oh, most of the time I can control it if I know actually what's going on. I can have that
Yeah.
sense
Yeah.
of okay, this is bad. This is what I can do. This is what I can't do. And while it's bad, we're not here. We're not there. I can see these roads out.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
control is
everything.
a huge part of it, at least in my experience too, because like I don't like roller coasters, but I
I
could
hate
fly a
them.
small plane. So
Oh,
like
that's kind of cool.
I don't mind the motion of it, but it's the fact that I'm in control of it, as opposed to a roller coaster where I'm just sitting here and relying on expert engineers who to check it, and
You
also I
hope
can't stop and
expert
start it.
engineers.
I'm
I
sorry.
mean, you hope expert engineers. What if they're
I
just
Yeah,
hope,
like
you
the
right,
hope,
kid
but
right.
we'll
of,
see.
I
Yeah,
mean, it
little
could be
Final
the fail
Destination.
son that said, "Hey, Dad, I've been playing Roller Coaster Tycoon all my life. Will you let me design the new one for the park?"
Well, I grew up
Uh,
around Action Park in New Jersey, and that was kind of how they designed some of the rides. They called it Traction Park because I think because of all the skin lost.
Wow. Gross. Thanks for that visual.
There's like a documentary on it.
Uh, oh, is that the one that came out like a year ago or 2 years
Couple
ago?
years, like 2 years ago about, but yeah, they had this like one like where like it would do this like really extreme loop, and they would send like the employees down who were like teenagers, and they'd
Yeah.
like come out like with concussions. And it was pretty scary.
Yeah, that's the one that you're referencing is the one that I saw the documentary on.
Yeah, yeah, that was right. That's in New
And
Jersey.
you went there?
I never went there, but I went to like there's like skiing around there as well, but I never went to that actual park.
Okay,
I think my
that's good.
parents were like, "Don't go
Good.
to that park."
I'm glad.
Taki, he's sitting there going, "Yeah, where do you think all the ideas for this book came from?"
I was the person in the loop. I hit my head. And I want to know more about like what the doctor thinks like in terms of like how we represented and how you might be able to use if you don't mind me like flipping this around a little bit how you might be able to use
That's the
this
other
and
reason I
help
bring him.
other patients and whatnot.
Uh, Thank you. The best way I could answer that is that I mean it has a lot of portions on it that can be utilized. So I'm going to try to make sense of it in best I can. I'm not as eloquent with my words as you guys, but so you break a lot of taboos, and I think that's what's really good with the book as well as the taboos. And what I mean by taboos is just the idea of anxiety in of itself or depression or and whatnot. They're not always talked about, and even more so in specific cultures. And the way I looked at the book is those different monsters represented diversity, not only from, I don't know what we call human, but the different species of monsters represented the different species that we have, or whatnot. So there was this diversity sense because, and I'll speak on my culture, like Latinos, we don't talk about, mental health. We don't talk about, being in therapy. That's a dirty word. Like that doesn't happen. So I think it was breaking the taboo in there in of itself is something that's good, especially when working with kids or younger populations, is reading that is just seeing that, there is difference and people of difference can talk about it and that normalization of it. So that in of itself is step one. I think that the book really kind of is something that I'm going to use and give to specific clients like, hey, don't read it, see what you think about that. From a different perspective. So I thought that's good. But also the most pivotal part for me was the connection of the disorders that you have with the specific monsters, like agoraphobia with the ghosts. Like when you think about a ghost, the ghost is like, depending on You're on the
I
planet of
did
ghosts.
love that because
Like
like the
they don't want to leave.
poltergeist that you can't see is afraid of open spaces.
Or leaving, but they're
Right.
bound, depending on the mythos of it, like they're bound and they can't leave, and it's just like so you're kind of left with that intrigue and that thought, and it's just like like that normalization again of that disorder. So I think it's helping people see like one, it's okay to talk about, and you know what, different people, different things can experience it, and it's okay to experience it and how you experience it. And I think that's really the beauty and the eloquency of that particular of this book is that clients can read it and go, I'm not reading a how to deal with my anxiety book. I'm not reading a textbook, a manual on, this is the steps I have to do. I'm reading something that's fun and normalizing that, you know what? It's okay to be anxious, because anxiety is normal. There is a normalcy to anxiety, It's okay to be anxious before a test, and that's okay because it strives you to to do better. It's okay to be anxious, when you're having a child, when you're getting married, all those things, there's a normalcy to anxiety, and I think that's good. It gets worse and it can get worse. And I think seeing that in this book is really what helps people understand is that I'm not alone. I'm still okay because it's normal to feel what I feel. It's just what I feel. And then there is options for me to take. So I think having all that gamut, I think is the beauty of what you created. I mean, I don't know if I said it well enough. I really, really enjoyed this book and really look forward to kind of integrating it therapeutically for people that don't want to talk about it. And this is where I talk a little bit about how I do it in clinics, is that you have a lot of patients that are embarrassed to talk about anxiety. They're scared to talk about their anxiety, and worst of all, or don't know about their anxiety, which you guys were talking about. They have no idea what they're experiencing. They have no idea what it is. You can't Google and look for something that you don't have a word for.
Yeah.
And that's the difficult part for them, is going, what am I dealing with? So seeing it and hearing it is already not only just in word forms, but the art also exhibited the disorder, so, which I thought was really good, is how it's integrated. Not only do they talk about it, but you can see the anxious state. You can see, the fearful state. And I thought that was like, I could literally not know the words and see those emotional responses, which I thought was, excuse me, it was fucking great. Because it's like, I can give it to a kid that can't fully read it and still see, like, do you see what they're
Yeah,
what do you
Cat Ferris really knocked out
Cat
the
is
freaking
visuals.
amazing.
incredible.
Yeah,
Just
it was amazing. Like you can see it without reading it. So I thought that was great. So it's having all those things that I think really are useful, is having a kid kind of look through it, or an adult that doesn't want to talk about it, doesn't want to, see it or understand it yet, to kind of ease them into it. But also more importantly for those kids or individuals that don't know what they're feeling, I think is really good because they can read it in a fun way too and feel good about themselves and go like, all right, you're not making me look like I'm crazy. You're not making me feel like I'm crazy. You're not making me feel like, I'm broken or there's something wrong with me. And I think that's the beauty of it, is that it's the normalization and destigmatization of it that I thought was creative genius. I mean, by all of you guys. So I admire you guys, to be quite honest.
I
Cute.
appreciate that. Yeah, yeah. And I think that what's amazing, I think for I could speak for like the entire team, like we set out, to create just a story, and then having all of this as like bonus was
Hmm.
just like, we this was, first and foremost, you got to think, what will the characters do? And it all has to make sense. So I want to be clear that it's also, we're talking a lot about the psychology aspects of it. This is not like a self-help book. This is still like a fun comedy, family drama,
Yeah.
but with all of this on top of it.
Hmm. Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and that's the beauty of it, is that, and I want to make sure I said it, it's not a self-help book, by any means, but it's a helpful book by every means. And I always tell people my quick story is that I learned to read, write, and speak English by reading Captain America comics. And Captain America comics
Yeah,
aren't an English book, but they helped me. And that's the beauty of the
100%.
book, is that it's not a self-help book, but it still helps you. And that's the beauty, because it's not in your face. It's not a, this is going to do this. And that's the creativeness, I think, of it.
And I think like a lot of superheroes, right? Like are based upon
Trauma.
problems that people have, like whether it's like the Hulk has anger issues. Like Stan Lee was an expert at that.
What is a
And
superhero without trauma? Peter
yeah, I
Parker.
mean, you just can't have, right.
Mhm.
So I think that, it's, we kind of hit it at its head because it's about a psychologist more.
Hmm.
But in the end of the day, most good stories, and especially superhero stories and comic stories, tend to have that background of a trauma. Batman, his origin story. There's trauma, there's anxiety, there's rage, there's um, a lot of things, and I think we just went a little bit further with it, I guess, by actually presenting it in a therapeutic setting.
Well, it makes you feel for the characters, and I know I may be biased again. I really felt for Dr. Ron there. You start to identify with them and feel what they're feeling and what they're experiencing, and that's the hallmark of a good read in any genre, in any realm, is that identity, that identifying with with someone in that book. And I think that's what's good too about it, is that you can identify, and you have a lot of people that you can identify with, and I think that's strong. It's a strong example of a well-written and crafted book.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love every single character that we created in there.
You have a favorite?
Mm,
I'm analyzing now, sorry.
I mean, I guess it has to be Dr. Richards because he's the protagonist and we spent the most time with him.
Yeah, Dr. Richards for me um, had the most analogies with my own personal life, the work-life balance. Um, he has
Balance.
there is balance. There's supposed to be.
I don't
Cat.
think
There's
Dr.
supposed to be. That's
Ramos
something you might
knows
want to
about
talk about the
that.
doctor with as well. But
Yeah.
yeah,
The work life juggling.
yeah, I mean
How many
that's
balls do you have in the air right now, Edgar?
yeah, exactly. Two of which are comic stores. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think that I really related to the buildup of um, I don't want to give away too much, but his arc and his struggles of wanting to help his patients, but also wanting to help his family. And I think that
I
that's
loved your
a
choice of
tough.
mentor for him too. I'm not gonna give anything
Yeah,
away
that's
beyond that. Your choice of mentor for him was
I that was one of the first
I
decisions, and
love them.
I don't want to give that away either, but that was one of the first decisions, and it could have been Taki's choice. I think it was actually, but it was kind of where the book started really taking its form in terms of quirkiness, and it's kind of like Cat Ferris's artwork. Um, we're it's a family drama with horror characters. That's a comedy. That's about therapy. Like it's a lot of hyphenates happening.
right.
But Cat's art, the second you open the first page, you get it.
Yep.
It's not a horror book.
No.
It's not a children's book. It's not a totally like, you actually her art is like one of the only styles I think that conveys exactly what you're seeing from the first page before the first line of dialogue is even spoken. And I think that's her brilliance.
How did you
Mhm.
pick that? Because that was like either you guys are really, really lucky or just really, really creatively genius. Like, how did you guys pick? Like, how did
We're
that?
really creative geniuses.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
That's
no,
what I
I
was
mean,
thinking.
I mean,
but to
and
be
no,
fair,
And
it
we're
Taki
wasn't
is
luck.
so
incredibly
good at
lucky
oh yeah.
too.
Well, it's always a combination of the two. But Taki and I were looking for a very distinct, slightly cute
Ah,
style
okay.
that wasn't full on horror. Because if we used a horror illustrator for this,
Change
it
it.
would have felt dark no matter what our script
Yep.
was.
Yeah, it would have been a different book.
Yeah.
I agree.
So
Even if it was the same script, it would have felt differently.
so
Yeah.
when Taki and I saw sequentials from Cat, and I know Taki had had known Cat
Yeah, well, I mean, we're like
locally kind of
casually
thing.
friends in town.
But when Taki I think forwarded like some sequentials or at least some of the another book that Kat had illustrated, and I think it just like the light bulb went off. So we had that parapsychologist moment where we said the word parapsychologist, and it's
Yeah,
like we got it. And then
yeah,
Kat's art came in, it was like another light bulb went off. So this
yeah,
was a project of just a lot of confluence of like luck and
Finally.
timing and skill of us just like like knowing what when Taki and I agree on something it means it's really good. I'm gonna be like a little like because we don't always agree and that's kind of the fun of the collaboration um is fight our we have like idea fights and then but
How
but,
I
but we
like to
both
call them debates.
because they're idea fights with us. But like so like they go into like a grudge match and we
Oh.
fight it out and but we both have the friendship and the collaboration that we when we lose, we go, that was the better idea. And then I think the story is better for it. And I think that's part of the fun because when you're writing it alone, you don't have that. It's just you in
Yeah,
your own echo chamber.
absolutely. Agree 100%. Um, and like also like it just kind of tells you so much about like what kind of like writers Mark and I are is that we just care. We care so much, and that's why we debate and fight for certain ideas and whatever comes out and ends up on the page is exactly what needed to be there, and you know we're the happiest when it happens. Like if it's Mark's debate that won, I'm happy because we talked it out to death, which way is better.
That's an
And then
understatement. But yeah, I mean
no, but
we
I'm
really
I'm
but yeah,
serious.
you're
Like
right.
it makes me so happy. I'm like, well, I know I fought against this, but the reason why it's on paper means that this was the idea that was supposed to be there.
And like 9 times out of 10, like I'll fight for an idea and eventually, Taki loses her WWE match. And then goes, okay, go for it, right? And then it's nice when we get Kat's art back, and Taki will go, you were right, it worked, and same thing happens back and forth. So there are times where I was, heading a little bit more toward, like X-Files or Buffy, a little bit more genre, and Taki was pretty strongly leaning
I was
towards the more
leaning
family
towards
drama.
more like not genre because it was already a genre. So I'm like, well, I was kind of picturing like Dr. Katz, um um the cartoon show
I'm
and
sorry,
that
our time is up.
exactly,
All
right?
right, sorry, bye. Good to see you guys.
And
No,
yeah, and like
yeah.
something a little bit more like mundane and like everyday so that like even though these creatures are supernatural creatures, um you can relate to them, you know? But I think we also, because of Mark, we have a pretty good balance of them being supernatural uh, creatures or characters or whatever, but also still relatable.
Yeah, I think mine would have been like more explosions and Taki's might have been more therapy, for example. And I think that with the two of us together, it's like the peanut butter cups.
No, no,
Well,
and that makes for a great dessert.
They are
I'm just
excellent.
gonna
Exactly.
They
say,
are,
since we're on the food, I gotta give a quick plug. On the shelves right now is Godzilla versus Portland, and your artist Kat Ferris did a fantastic story in that involving hot dogs and Godzilla. You know,
she is
Sounds
because
brilliant.
just like her.
That doesn't shock me because like so and also to shout out to Kat and how lucky we are. So this takes place in the Pacific Northwest and Kat's familiar with this area, and we would get art back, and there would just be inside jokes that we didn't even write, and so
right.
it was really like a really nice collaboration where Kat knew where we were going, she knew the style of the writing and where we wanted to be, and she just fleshed it out. Um, we all had a lot of fun writing Dr. Ron's mugs, and Kat wrote a couple of those. Taki wrote a couple, I wrote a couple, but like each time, like he has these mugs, and we just put little interesting sayings on them. But also like some really good Portland flourishes that I personally wouldn't know from being on the East Coast. So I couldn't write to that, and Kat basically gave it a Northwest pass.
Hmm.
Nice.
Taki knows
Um,
it as well, but like Kat took
Oh
it.
yeah, no, but she like really brought it on visually. Like, yeah, she nailed it. Yeah.
I'm gonna take us on a brief tangent here because obviously this is Taki's third time on the show, so I knew that I knew Taki. And when I saw the press release, I'm like, Mark Shea, I don't know that name, but as I finally got around to doing research while we're talking, you guys have worked before together before. You guys did the Black Box Chronicles, which
Mhm.
is like one of the more underrated sci-fi collections ever, frankly, but certainly of the last few years.
I appreciate that, and it's like that. Yeah, that's where Taki and I met, and
That
Mike
was
did
that
a
was going to be my question is
yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
we had a mutual friend. So I was working on Black Box Chronicles with my um, I have a company called Horrible Future, and we're kind of like trying to create IP for the comic industry. And
I'm going to
Okay,
be
good.
rude
You said
and
for the comic
I
industry.
have to step away for 1 second. So,
No problem.
absolutely,
apologies.
she gets bored when I tell this many
He's like, I don't
times.
want to hear the story
I
anymore.
don't
I'm
want,
done.
again, and it's not about her. So so
Mhm.
my partner Chris Northrup and I created the Black Box Chronicles. That was with Magnetic Press,
Right.
who makes these gorgeous like
I've had Mike Kennedy
slipcases.
on too.
Yeah, there you go. So Mike,
Mike Kennedy is on at least one of my panels this weekend.
oh
So yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean Chris and I, we wanted to come up with an anthology idea and we thought it would be really cool to have these, the whole concept very quickly without going on too much of a tangent is that, we're finally going into the stars, but like, spaceships still crash. And this is each story is a short by a different illustrator that tells the story of what happened in the final moments and what caused that ship to crash. And I had a mutual friend with Taki and Mike, and in the middle of this, I think it was just like on Twitter at the time. I was making a 3D print for the mutual friend, and suddenly Mike Oming responds to it. And I'm like, wait, Mike Oming? And yeah, we're like good friends. And I'm like, do you think you'd want to do a short? And he signed on to do a short, and then like that exact like within the same amount of time, without anyone talking, I went to a Comic-Con and David Mack agreed to do the cover. And so like I mean we kind of like stumbled into like some of the greatest artists and talent in the comic industry.
Well, I
And
mean, I'll be honest. It was Mike's name that made me see the Kickstarter and back it.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
so
Yeah.
so so that's why it even managed to hit my radar. But I'll still say it's way under the radar. I'm
Yeah, we're
Edgar
hoping
order
to do
some for the
more.
shop.
Yeah, Taki and I co-wrote two of the shorts in it, and
Yeah.
that's kind of like why we were having that discussion about sci-fi and like psychiatry, and um, that's why we were having that brainstorm. It's like, what else can we do now that we're done with these black box
Yeah,
stories?
we had so much fun. We're like, I think we have more stories in us together. So,
And
and
also,
that was
like
our psychologist,
black box is like really depressing, kind of like it's about like lots
especially
of
the two of
spaceships
them that we
crashing.
It
worked
definitely
on.
have
They
its
were
moments.
very good.
So
Yeah.
like I think I tried to make it like hopeful depressing, but like in the end of the day, like I think that's one of the reasons why I was interested in trying a comedy, because in the end of the day it's about characters, and I also didn't want everyone to just think I'm like this depressing, like horrible, like trying to make you cry all the time.
That's my job.
I'm
Taki,
not
I think I
licensed for
asked
that.
you a similar question last time you were on for Alienated because you are an accomplished artist in your own right. Like I still visually, Sleeping While Standing is one of my favorite books. It's one of my favorite books, not, in terms of book too, but like I not having seen a lot of your work before that book, I found myself particularly blown away by the visual style. So it's always interesting to me to hear when people who are very capable of drawing the story themselves
Mhm.
do the writing. Like how did you feel about Kat's artwork as it came in? Were you like immediately? I mean, it sounds like you guys picked her out based on her feel, but like I guess where I'm going is like, there are plenty of people that's like, oh, I can't read anybody else's Spider-Man. I can't read, so what's it like when you have these characters that I assume you envisioned in your head that you then get back, Were you guys so on the same page that it was easy? Did you have to remind yourself that this is a collaborative process? Like the therapist is in the room if you need to use him.
It's all
You
confidential.
know, maybe because I'm an artist, it was much easier, but everything she brought in, like I really didn't have any notes
Okay.
at all because like I guess maybe because I'm an artist that like I understood where she was coming from and what she was thinking. And it was really interesting to see what she saw in the script and descriptions of the characters versus what I was seeing. And it was
Right.
so interesting, and I loved seeing like how different um, the characters looked from what I was picturing to what she brought. And
Right.
the moment that she handed in the character sheets, I was like, this is what they look like. I can't see
Right.
them
Yeah, Taki and I,
looking any other way but how she put them. It was it was like that with Alienated too. Like as soon as
Yeah.
John the characters, I'm like, yep, this is what they look like. Like I
Yeah.
don't even remember what they looked like in my head before.
Nice.
yeah, we had a
Yeah.
lot of talks like Taki and I when we would describe like one of the characters. Actually, I won't even say because I don't want to place even like what our original thoughts were.
Right.
Yeah.
But we would talk about like actors or characters in movies and be like, yeah, someone like this kind of character. And purposely though, didn't put in the script, think of this character from this show. We wanted when you see, I think one of the flaws people have, I mean, to your question, is that if you hire a professional at Cat's level,
Oh,
use
absolutely.
use it. And if guiding too much, you're not taking advantage of it. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of like how when I could write the whole thing myself, but
Hmm.
with Taki, it becomes something better than the two individuals.
Yeah.
And the same thing happens when the third comes in, which is the illustrator.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
So I think that for us, and we've talked about it, but like I mean, when we saw there were certain characters in particular that nothing like what we had thought, but we were just like, wow, we saw it, it was just cool. It was kind of nice to see a third highly talented person take the words that we handed them without guidance and give something back. And
Right.
yeah, I could see some people maybe getting frustrated by that, but it was the
No,
opposite.
I brought it up because because I'm into all sorts of comics. I get to talk to everybody from indie cartoonists to big name collaborative comic people to, people and it's funny like that for the most part, people wind up where they're most comfortable, but like um, there are some people that it's like they couldn't dream of drawing somebody else's story or letting somebody else draw their story. They're like, I don't even get how that works. I need to have my vision on the page. And there are other people
Yeah.
that it's like, thank God for great artists because I can't draw. Or thank
Yeah.
God for great like a friend of mine who's a marvelous artist and does fantastic writing as well, but they find the writing portion so much harder that they're much happier most of the time to have a script to work from somebody that's going to give them a lot of space. They don't want the
Yeah.
overbearing, do this, do that, but
Yeah.
like they don't want to have to think about dialogue. They don't want to have to think about plot. They want to they want to have
They just
that
want to
taken
draw.
care of
Hmm. Yeah.
and just be the director and the actors and the lighting director and all of the other stuff that the artist has to take care of when they're not doing the other things.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, but because I've experienced so much of that from people, I'm always really fascinated by people like Taki, people like China Flores. I haven't gotten to talk to Jeff Lemire, but he falls into that category. People
Yeah.
who seem to actually float between the roles. Sometimes they
Yeah.
write and draw their own stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes they write for other people. Sometimes they draw for other people. Like to
Yeah.
be able to float between the roles, like,
Yeah.
I mean, again, it popped into my head as much because we're talking psychology already. You got to have a certain mentality to always want to just play whatever role is going to make the book work the best.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
I
That's
think
pretty
as
much it.
Yeah.
creators, you're kind of like the directors, and I don't want to overstate it in terms of blocking because obviously that's the illustrator. There's a lot of weird overlapping
Right.
in terms of if you try to translate it to like film or TV. But as the creators picking the artist, like that was the creative choice we made, and then you live with that choice and you're
Right.
Hmm.
comfortable with it. But
Hmm.
and we're particularly happy with it. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's cool.
But yeah, it
Doc, you
just
didn't take any of the pages and go, I'm just going to fix this. I
I
don't like this
oh,
probably had
space.
more
not at
note.
all.
I
Like, oh,
think I had
she's
more notes than Taki did, to be honest, because
oh yeah.
I have
I
like
was just suddenly remembering that Kirby's Superman faces always got replaced by DC in his Jimmy Olsen run because they didn't like the way he drew Superman.
It's
yeah
insane. That's insane.
yeah
But
we
but no, like it takes very little effort to rewrite something to work with the art that came in than
Right.
to do the opposite,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
If anything, we changed dialogue to or lost
exactly.
dialogue because
Yep.
right,
you don't need it. Like we would write like, why'd you do that, right? But the cat would give a panel and it would be saying that already, so it
Yeah,
felt
it'd
right,
be
redundant to
saying
actually
that,
have the dialogue.
or even if it kind of didn't work exactly what we were picturing, we'll just fix it so that
right,
it matches the art better.
right.
Versus like asking her to like redraw something,
Oh, yeah.
right? And that I mean I try to avoid
Even when I think about
changes to art as
the
much as possible
handful of, yeah,
because I know
it
all the
because
disciplines.
right. I mean,
I
I'm
I think though
I'm
that
not an artist, but I know enough artists that anytime I even think about somebody asking to have a page redrawn, I just shiver. I'm sitting there
yeah.
going, "You
Unless
what?"
it's actually like detrimental to the
Yeah.
actual storytelling,
I mean, I'm not
then
saying
of
that it
course, so those are the
never
only
has
times
to
I
be
would ever ask
done,
the artist to
but
change anything.
right,
Yeah, I think that
Yeah,
this is what, like 122 pages or somewhere in that
right.
vicinity,
yeah,
and
something like that.
maybe 3 pages had changes,
Oh, Mark,
something like that.
you had like barely any notes and like yeah,
So to be
Right.
clear, like
yeah.
we really, I mean,
Oh
like,
yeah.
and the notes were like, early on we had the characters, and then we also had Ron's office designed,
Right.
and once we approved that, it was kind of like run with it.
Oh yeah,
Um,
like Mark, like you barely had any notes, so like
The notes
seriously.
were probably along the lines of the baby really shouldn't be smoking a cigarette. And she's like, I was just making certain you were
I mean,
looking. That's a
to be
completely
honest,
separate layer.
I think it's
I could
okay
just take it right out.
I mean, I think it's okay to say this, but I think there was one shot that I just was like, and this might be ridiculous, but I think she drew him driving while on the phone, and I was like, can we just make him parked? Because I didn't want, I was like, we're doing like a good thing with this
Right.
book, and um, I didn't want to have with my name on it a guy driving on the phone and possibly like doing something dangerous.
You wanted Ron to be
I wanted
responsible.
him to
Gotta put him
Ron's
on a hands-free unit.
yeah, like so right. So I think we ended up you'll see a scene with a car and a phone and that was probably one of the notes where it was like it wasn't anything wrong with the art. It wasn't
Right.
it probably annoyed Kat a little bit, tiny bit, hopefully.
Yeah.
But it was like, I just don't see Ron being irresponsible like that.
Right.
He's
And
like
like it was really our fault because we didn't really think about
I mean,
describing that
frankly,
like
he's a
he shouldn't be
psychologist
in
and
the car driving while he's on the phone, right?
I
Like
think
we
we said
should have
he's
I
in
thought
the
about
car
that,
and it
but
was supposed to be
it
parked,
was
but we
just
didn't
not in the script
I,
and like,
yeah.
and
I
this is
mean,
what they ended
seriously,
up
he's a
drawing.
psychologist in Portland who works from home and owns a car. That doesn't feel right.
It's like a
Hmm.
Flintstone car. I mean, he walks his feet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's cardboard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Certain
when
things are, fictional, I guess.
will we get to see Dr. Ron Richards merchandise?
Um,
Hopefully tomorrow, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, like, look, we are open to depending on the response of this, we are open to continuing his adventures and continuing his merchandising. But yeah, we
Oh,
think that there's
continuing the adventures. I like that word.
So,
I
so there's
mean,
a future for Dr. Richards.
Wow.
I think that there are certainly more interesting patients that we can throw at him.
Well, yeah, the concept itself is kind of an evergreen idea, right? It can kind of keep going for quite a long time because it's a very, very simple concept.
Even some spin-offs.
I
Hmm.
mean, there are options that we have spoken about, and it really comes down to what the readers think. And sometimes you get these breakout characters that we might like. We have ideas of which ones we think people are going to like, but
Hmm.
it could be one that comes out of left field, and suddenly we go, wait, maybe the spinoff should be this one.
Hmm.
But at this point, it's just we want to get it out there, and we want to hopefully people enjoy it, and then we'll
Go from
think
there.
about yeah, what we do
So
next.
releases on Comixology
31st.
a week from tomorrow. So
Yeah.
March 31st.
Is it only on digital?
Um, right
Yes, it's
now,
digital
For now,
first. Yes.
yes.
that was literally where I was going, Edgar, because I know you want it in the
I'm
shop.
excited. I'm excited. Okay, I'm
Are
excited.
there plans yet for a physical release? Do you have
We don't
I know that
have
there
any word on that yet.
okay.
Yeah.
I know that there are a few different companies that have been picking up Comixology originals and printing them physically, and
Mhm.
I know that you have connections to at least two of them, Taki. And I think that this would actually be perfect for one of them. Um, so I'm hoping that it will get picked up because this is definitely a one that would be useful to have physical. I mean, I know Edgar would keep
I will sell
keep
it at both
copies.
stores.
Well, not
Absolutely.
only would you sell it at both stores, I imagine you'd have like three copies at each of the four clinics.
I would actually start using it for some of the patients. Yeah, absolutely.
We might
You'd
have some
probably just have
interesting
it in the
patients
waiting
coming.
room.
That's great. Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Um,
right now it's digital because I mean it's Amazon Comixology has been incredibly supportive. They had,
right.
speaking of like our discussions with Kat, like Amazon was incredible. Had like no notes, right? Taki, was there a note even?
Um,
I mean, I don't I don't know.
no, I don't think there was any note.
So
No.
so I mean I think
That's a
like when you
bonus.
have a partner like that, like you let them do their thing, you let them
Right.
sell it the way that they want to first, but certainly
Mhm.
I would
Right.
love to have it. There's just something about being able to hold it.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Agreed. Agreed
All right.
100%.
Before I move on to the traditional closing questions, um, Dr. Ramos, do you have anything else that you wanted
No, that
to
was my question was when do we see it in print and merchandising for it? Because I
he
can't say
wants the
enough.
action figures,
Yeah, do you want
No,
like stuffies, action figures? Like what are you thinking?
I think
all of
action
the
figures,
above.
mugs, I think that'd be great. I mean,
Mugs, there we
come
go.
on, when you're highlighting the doctor, I think that's just, it feeds into my narcissism. So I would just love to see that. No,
He
but
wants to know if he can grow a beard for the next volume.
Well, maybe
Interesting.
maybe make him
probably
Latino.
do
I don't
that.
know,
Like
tat it up a little bit. I think that's kind of cool. I'm the coolest
I
doctor
agree.
you're ever
That
gonna
is
meet.
way cooler. I mean, our
I think
Dr. Ron Richards is
I
kind of
think
an
Edgar is offering to join the practice if he gets to the point
ooh,
where he
yeah, he could be
needs.
the next door neighbor, like
yeah, do you want to be a,
oh,
a rival or do you want to be a
yeah,
friend? Like
rival
what do we
therapist next door.
I mean, those are ideas. Those are ideas. No, I think it's great. I can't wait. I hope that you guys are successful with this book. I can't see it not being that way. I can't wait to see it in print and sell it myself and have my own copy. I think that's great.
Well, and remember to put it on every psychologist message board that you're part
I
of.
actually will be doing that. Actually, believe it or not, I'll be speaking to a few people about it. So I think I think it's great. I just
Actually, a great way for books to make money is when they're on syllabi. So you teach, Lee
Hmm,
teaches. I
cool.
mean, you just put it
Hmm.
on your
Nothing is
syllabus.
better than forcing the students to buy a copy. And what we'll
Exactly.
work something out. Like every year we'll make one little tweak and they have to buy the new copy.
the updated version.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It,
updated, new and improved DSM
look,
version.
it's not required. It's recommended reading, but you won't be able to pass without reading it.
Exactly. I mean, I'm all, listen, that's your ethics, not mine. I mean,
I
whatever
mean,
you feel comfortable doing.
I think that's fair play. Yeah, no, you guys did great. It was a great read, and it was just a pleasure. You guys are so cool to talk to. So it's,
Yeah.
I want to say thank you guys. You're such humble people for being celebrities in my eyes. So that's
Well,
great.
don't get too leaving yet, because we do
Oh,
have the traditional closing
I
questions
know, I
still.
know. I'm sorry. I'm just
Well, I also want to add that, like, without therapists, without psychologists, without psychiatrists, I wouldn't be who I am today. And
Me neither. I wouldn't even be here today. I'll be like very, very, very blunt
absolutely,
about that.
saved my life, saved my sanity.
Mm.
And, without my therapist in my life, Mark and I probably wouldn't have come up with Parapsychologist. So this is an ode and a love letter to all my therapists out there.
I certainly
That
I would not have approached this subject matter if I didn't
Mhm.
feel comfortable enough with it, because of the sensitivity behind it. And I don't mean sensitivity like a taboo. I mean sensitivity because out of respect. And I hope that anyone who reads it can really feel that coming through, that the people who wrote it, weren't teasing, we're not making fun, we're we care about the subject.
Yeah.
Right.
definitely shows.
All right. So one of these questions Taki's had to answer multiple times before, but one of them is a little bit newer. Um, the newer one is I'm in my fifth year of doing this, and I feel like I'm in the twilight zone. I feel like my life has just become this cool, amazing thing where I regularly have to pinch myself to go, wait a minute, did am I talking to Taki Soma again? Was that Mike Avon Oming in the background? Did I get to say out loud, hey, that last issue of Powers was good, for that matter? And this is the first time I get to say it with Edgar here. I wouldn't know Edgar without this podcast. And aside from the fact that he's already become one of my best friends over the last couple of years, like
Nice.
a month ago, my wife and I had both of our cars break down in the span of a week.
Hmm.
And you want to talk panic attacks? We both drive 40 miles a day to be able to work.
Oh my
Sure.
goodness.
And we knew we were going to have to replace one of them, but the other one we expected to have, 5 to 7 more years on. But, a deer decided otherwise.
Oof.
Um, and I like, as I'm trying to figure things out, I'm like, do I know anybody who I think might know somebody? And I went, you know what? Edgar always seems to know somebody. So I just said, Edgar, you've got a guy for everything. Please tell me you've got a car guy. And his wife Sam, who's also a friend, her brother is the manager of a car dealership that their uncle owns.
Oh
He
wow.
came in off of maternity leave. And like Kelly and I had low expectations. We were just like, we have no idea where to start. So we're going to start with somebody who knows what they're doing. We wound up starting and finishing. We walked out the door like 4 hours later with two cars just
Huh.
inside of our comfort zone. And what we thought was going to be 2 years of, not 2 years, a couple of weeks of going nuts, trying to figure out how to ride share, how much could we
Mhm.
afford the rental, blah blah blah, became, oh my God, we don't even have to take our day off on Monday and spend it car shopping.
Oh
We
my
could just
goodness.
relax.
So your psychologist got rid of your what ifs.
He did. He did. But I'm actually tossing it in with like going to a baseball game with Dennis Kitchen or whatever, among those like surreal things that are just part of my life now that never would have been without comics. And I found that everybody in comics has at least one, and generally tons of them, which is why it can be an every time question, because I guarantee the next time Taki comes on, she'll think of a different one. Next time Mark comes on, I hope Mark will come on too, but I'm certain that Taki will come on again, even if it's just a sword in the background.
I'll come on next time Mike's on and
That's
and,
that's
and
fair.
distract
That's fair.
you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You can co-host. I mean, that's how I roll. Takes a village, man.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Right,
I'm gonna
right.
hold you to that.
So,
I'm gonna interview Mike and Taki with you.
okay, we'll work on setting it
I know
up.
where the bodies are buried.
hmm
Um, so that's the question here. Share a surreal pinch yourself, either experience or sometimes bigger than experience. It's just like a state of being, something that like comics have brought you that like just every time you think about it, you're like, wow.
For me, it's every day. My life is like it's comics. It's
Right.
I live and breathe comics. I live and breathe storytelling. I live and breathe art and colors and even lettering, you know. I don't know any other language. I don't know any other way of living. Actually, we're in the middle of actually getting our house up for sale. And, you know, I'm going through a lot of artwork that I have to take off of, you know, and putting them out of, getting them out of the frames and like putting them together. And a lot of friends ask, like, are you gonna bring them with you? And I'm like, well, of course. Like, I'm not bringing anything else but my art. Like I will die without them. So, you know, like without comics, I wouldn't. Well, again, like it's the same thing like therapy, right? Like without comics, I wouldn't be here. So,
Right.
yeah,
And you managed to do that and have a roof over your head, because some of the people who live and die comics, do so from their cardboard boxes.
yeah.
So I'm just adding that surreal part that you guys have managed to get paid at least a little.
We're surviving.
Right? Surviving is rich in comics terms.
Uh, Absolutely. I agree to 100%. How about you, Mark?
Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing that surprised me the most is just how humble and kind and how many genuine friends I've made.
Yeah.
The likes of Taki and Mike Oming and um, the kindness of people who you would look up to as a younger version of
Hmm.
yourself, who you would assume would not have the time for you, but they'll just
Right.
talk with you for an hour.
Hmm.
And I'll purposely not name drop because I don't think that's even necessary. But the point is that the vast majority of the people I've worked with, and on Black Box we had like 15 art teams,
Right.
and then we have Parapsychologists. I worked on the revival of A1 Deadline, and
Oh,
there's just
that too.
yeah, that yep. I have a story. I have a short coming out.
Mine's in the mail at some
Yeah,
point
so
soon.
my I have a
Nice.
short called Self-Aware in Aisle 5 that's coming out in that.
So,
So
so,
you
so
may
I,
get it.
I I've just managed to figure out that I've purchased all of the things that you've done without managing to put you
Yeah.
together with all of them.
Hopefully I'll start, you'll start knowing,
I mean, now that I've talked to you,
recognizing
you'll
my
click
name.
more.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, like before I was even in like the surreal, like another one of my best friends I met at because he was a regular at a comic shop that I worked at,
Yeah.
and like first time he came in, we talked about baseball for like 2 hours, and the second time he came in, we talked about music for like 2 hours. The third time he came in, we actually talked about comics for 2 or 3 hours. The fourth time he came in is when I realized he was the same guy from all of those other three times. He was cool with that. He's like, no, dude, every time I come in, I see Tad. Every time you
Right.
come in, A, you might not see Andy. B, you see like 100 other people.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Um, but that was when I'm like, maybe we should like deliberately get together somewhere other than the comic shop. And we traded phone numbers and, so I
Yeah.
get that. Like I've made more friends in my 40s than I did in my teens, and
It's
that's
cool.
not
It's
something
like
that
finding
many
your
people
people,
say.
and,
Right.
and there's not a lot of
It's
people
exactly that.
you can nerd out to, and like,
Yeah.
Taki and Mike, and like a lot of times Mike is working off to the side and I'll be talking with Taki, then Mike pops in and like,
Hmm.
or the laugh you heard before, like that's like par
Yep.
for the course.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Hmm.
it's just like, I mean, and we could just, we can go for a couple months and then just pick up like this
Where we
and
left
just
off.
talk like as if we were talking yesterday. And
Yeah.
it's like this, and to be honest, like Mike and Taki are on the closer side compared to a lot of the artists, but but there are plenty of artists that I've met that I um, deeply respect. I also appreciate the fact that there wasn't a lot of gatekeeping. I am relatively
No.
new, and especially in comparison
Y-
to these guys,
y-
and but there was no. I think that once I don't know. I guess
You
I
get
showed
treated
that I
like a
knew enough.
peer. You
I'm
get
sorry.
Yeah.
treated like a peer really
Yeah,
quickly in
yeah.
this.
Like
I
once
mean,
I like had like after Black Box came out,
Well,
which was my first published book, I think people were kind of like, well, if he could put that together, I mean, like,
right,
yeah,
you know,
that's
like,
an incredible
could have.
feat. But really, like
right.
the thing that people don't know about Mark is that like he's so much more accomplished than like most of us in comics. Like I'm like, oh, you're coming in here to make comics, but you did so much,
I mean,
in
I was reading his
yeah.
biography here on Amazon. What does it say? Um,
We don't have to. We don't have to
you
get.
don't want to
But
go through the
but
No, I
biography
mean,
yeah,
because
no,
you've done a
he's
fair
super
amount.
accomplished in so much, and I'm like,
I mean, I kind
well,
of like that
I guess
you
comics
were
is so
you a
much better because Mark's in
play
it.
tester for Sierra Online? I remember Sierra
yeah, I mean, like
Online.
one of my favorite little anecdotes for that I could share with you is like Leisure Suit Larry, if you remember, if
Yeah,
I'm dating
yeah,
myself. But I was like a teenager and I was a playtester for that. And in the beginning of that
yeah.
game,
His
they
story
would
is
ask they
nuts.
they would ask those questions. Do you remember? Like there was it was like to prove you're an adult. I guess
Right.
like to be like ethical. They would ask like a few questions. Are you an adult? And they had been doing, I think this was the third Leisure Suit Larry, and they were kind of like probably like sick of just making these questions. So they let the playtesters write them. So I, as a teenager, wrote questions to prove you're an adult. And Al Lowe, the creator of that game, made me a little certificate that I wish I still had that said, this is to certify that Mark is old enough to write this game, but not old enough to play it. So that was but that was a really fun time. It was a time when like playtesters actually were talking with the programmers and the writers. Now it's
Right.
like, massive conglomerates where you're like just
Right.
a cog. But it used to be like we'd hang out on CompuServe and we'd hang out and we'd all chat together.
Though I do have to ask a question because it also says here that you're a patented inventor.
Yeah, I
Two
invented
patents for
a
home energy systems. So talk to me for a second about home energy systems before
yeah,
we
so
get to the yeah. You see, Dr. Ramos, and we went through all the things that Dr. Ramos does is shaking his head right now.
yeah, that was a side. So I came up with this concept that eventually substantially similar to the Powerwall before the Powerwall was announced, which is basically a way to create a UPS battery backup system for your house. Because I always thought like we have a UPS for our computer, but with technology and the new types of batteries coming down in costs because of electric cars and whatnot, that you'd basically be able to set up a UPS on the panel level per circuit. So when the power went out, it would instantly keep your power on. So that was that
There you go.
subject.
There you go.
We've really
Uh,
gone on a tangent here, but that's the problem with like
that's
yeah,
what I mean, that's how I differentiate myself from other podcasts and also how we know that there aren't as many people who are seriously neurodivergent and like going on massive tangents because like I've got
sure.
a small dedicated audience rather than
Okay.
you want to sell your book, go talk to John Suntress. Great guy. I love him. Chicagoan. You wanna have a crazy conversation? I'm your man.
I am here for it.
So my last question, Taki's had to answer this a few times. Tell me something you love, preferably a comic, but we don't really have rules. Preferably storytelling, but again with the rules. But something that you love and not enough people around you have experienced, and you'd really like them to, so that you have more people to talk about it with.
Oh,
Uh,
that's an interesting.
Something that
See,
we
I
love
go
uh
ahead.
to do or
Again, preferably a comic, but we don't have rules. Preferably storytelling, but we don't have rules. Like I love to get a comic recommendation with this, but if what's on your like when Andrew Iden was on the last time, he just harvested his tomatoes and he really liked his homegrown tomatoes. And he wanted more people to experience his tomatoes so he could talk to him. You know, it's kind of the tell me an underrated thing, but like the last time Nate Powell was on, he said Jonathan Hickman's X-Men comics because like I live in the indie comic world. My friends don't read X-Men anymore, but I discovered it and I've become a Wednesday warrior again. And I've got nobody
Nice.
to talk to about it. So it's that thing that like is a personal love that like you wish more people knew about or experienced or did with you. Or just make something
Well,
up, whatever
Yeah.
works.
well, I guess I
No rules,
always, when
remember?
somebody asks like, like what's your favorite comic, it's hard to really pinpoint what that is, but I always bring up Jason comics.
Oh,
Um, yeah, he's
love
a,
Jason.
Norwegian cartoonist,
Uh-huh.
and he just goes by the name Jason, and he generally draws and writes anthropomorphic stories that are
Uh-huh.
kind of esoteric and weird and
Some
sometimes
noir,
dark
some
and noir.
some
Yeah.
yeah,
And
so,
I
some
would love to talk to people about Jason comics
I
because
can talk to you about Jason
nice.
all you want. If you want to do a Jason book club, I will do it in a
I would
heartbeat.
be totally down with that. But yeah, that's always my top recommendation, and I freaking love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I mean, like it's adjacent, but I really like the work, the short stories of Ted Chiang. He wrote Arrival, um,
Okay.
and he has a lot of collections of short stories, and he's absolutely brilliant. There's a story that he wrote called Exhalation. It's like under 10 pages, but he's one of those writers who makes me mad because like he's just like so good. And to
Mm.
be honest, when I read Sleeping While Standing before I knew Taki, that was my reaction. I was like, damn it, like I will never
Yeah,
be able
it's
to
that
write
good.
this authentic.
Have you read
Uh,
that, Dr.
No,
Ramos?
I just put it on my list though to
Yeah, so fucking good.
yeah, it was fantastic because like the mutual friend sent it over and I was like, she has to work on this book.
Uh,
I
thank
like
you.
um Junji Ito. I like
Yeah.
the Amagara Fault. I mean, I think that existential dread that he creates is just absolutely some of the best horror.
Frightening.
One
I
of
mean, it's
the
just like, and the one
one of
with
the
like the whale that
coolest
has the human.
Kickstarters I've seen in a long time. There is currently a Kickstarter for a vinyl audio adaptation of a
That's recent, right?
Junji. It's
Yeah,
going right
yeah.
now. Yeah.
I was like, I mean, some of these, I mean, like your listeners are like, yeah, of course we all know, but like, I think more people need, when I go to Barnes and Noble, there's just so much Marvel and DC, but
Yeah.
there is so much more to comics and
Oh yeah.
a lot of the foreign stuff. That's why I like Magnetic Press, bringing a lot of
Hmm.
the French or Italian
Yep. Yep.
artists over here. Um, I also just it's also already pretty popular, but I like It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth. I feel
Oh
like they have like
God.
almost like they're cousins to
The thing that
Taki's
I
work.
C2E2 is this weekend, and Zoe Thorogood will be there. I have not gotten to meet or talk to her, so like
Yeah,
that
Zoe
is
what is one of
very,
those
very
other
high on
artists.
my list of.
She is
That's
one of
another
those
one
artists
that
where you're just like,
Dr.
oh my
Ramos
God,
did a
how
book club with me on.
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
for
she's
she,
phenomenal.
you just go
Yeah.
through it and the creativity is just exploding
Yeah.
and it's raw and it's just so authentic and it's again when you're a writer and you're trying to create like this like really cool stuff and then you read this there are certain artists who you just look at and you're just like how will I
Right.
ever
Yeah.
get to that level.
Right.
Oh yeah, she
um
makes me feel that way for sure. Yeah,
Right.
so
I'm just like,
she's on
Well,
that
oh
list.
well,
particularly
I
because
quit
like
because
she
Yeah,
was
she's
what,
like
doing
I'm
it
done.
like 10 times better
23
than
when she
me.
made that?
Well, don't rub it in even more. But yeah,
I
like I
know.
mean, it's just like yeah, like most people need to iterate and make a couple really really horrible ones like beforehand. And when you
Right.
hear and
Well, and her book before that was the impending
she
blindness of Billy.
yeah, and then to go on
It's
and do a creep
so
show issue, like
right.
it's like I mean, but yeah, so I would say she's another one that just
Yeah.
keep on your radar because especially in this day with AI and slop and corporations, like committees forcing people to write garbage. Um, these authentic voices, of which Taki and I hope to be, and I hope like even
I
the
mean, you
deadline.
are. You are.
I appreciate that,
You
and
are.
I'm trying, like my best because I think that's going to be the thing that helps comics survive ultimately is because you can talk to us. We're people and we become our brand, right? People will be like,
Right.
"Oh, that's the kind of story I'm going to get from Taki, or that's the kind of story I'm going to get from Oming or Mark."
Right.
So I think that like that's our anti-AI proof and and that's the kind of
Yeah.
thing that I think that Zoe excels at.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
thank you guys so much.
Thank
Stick
you for
around for
having
just a second after I close up. For Mark Schey and Taki Soma. This has been
me.
22 panels, and we will see you after the next page.